Hello everyone, today I'm going to be talking about Prismatic Augments in ARAM Mayhem. So by now this recording is quite outdated, so for an updated ranking, please refer to the actual doc that's on my website. The link will be in the description. That said, I still do a good job talking about how each augment works and when to take them. If you want to support the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks and enjoy the video. Alright, last we have the Prismatic Augments. Again, not ordered within tiers, it's just alphabetical. To start, we have Eureka. This is a scaling one, but this is like, it scales so high that it becomes insane. And even like the immediate value is like okay, because you just build as much raw AP as possible and then you get a ridiculous amount of haste, which is just a multiplier on your overall damage, because the more you can cast, the more damage you're gonna do. So if you like just build raw AP, you can end up with upwards of like 200 ability haste, which is, yeah, that's very good. Next we have Final Form, another really crazy one. Like, it just makes it so that some champions just are completely unkillable for the duration. Like, they get a really big shield, they get Omnivamp, and they gain move speed, so that you can't really do anything to them. In the early levels, when you don't have enough damage to like actually burst down the champion, like they just like I said, just instantly win fights. And it falls off a little bit, but like it's not even that much, because these are all really good multipliers of what you're not gonna have otherwise. So like, this is healing that they wouldn't otherwise have. This is a shield, and this is move speed, which is hard to come by. I'm very curious to see a champion that has like a low enough cooldown where they can like a 25-second cooldown ult or something, that they could actually have like near 50% uptime on this. But it's a bit difficult. Next we have Giant Slayer. This is just two good things put together. You get bonus move speed and you get bonus damage, and that's it. There is no drawback. This ends up doing a lot of damage. There's not much else to say. Like, even if you're only getting the 10% bonus, that's still a good amount of damage. Maybe not as much as other Prismatics, but like, I feel like you could just never go wrong with Giant Slayer, and it's like always a good option. And much better, of course, if the enemy team actually has tanks. Next we have Jeweled Gauntlet, which is probably the best multiplier in the game if you could play around it. Well, it's a little hard to play around, because it's hard to get enough crits for it to start doing enough damage, but in the right setup, having your abilities able to crit is absolutely absurd. You also get some bonus crit chance, and that scales with AP. It's a little harder for AP to get to crit chance, so that's kind of how that works. Also, I don't know what's up with this. Like, I don't know what this means, but yeah, your abilities being able to crit is really good. You can build IE for more crit damage. If you get the IE quest, that's even more crit damage. You do have to play into it though. So with Jeweled Gauntlets, early on you probably want a Rite of Ruin just to be able to have enough crits for this to actually start doing stuff. But that, like, the trade-off for having that is not nearly like anything compared to the benefit you get from having all this damage on your crit, on your abilities. Next we have Mystic Punch, which is just broken on some champions. I think people who are familiar enough with Arena knows what this can do, but yeah, basic attacks on hit reduce cooldowns of your basic abilities by 20%. Some abilities apply this really quickly, which means you have pretty much no cooldowns, and that is a problem. It's also, I guess apparently there's a bug with Bel'Veth Q where, like, I don't know what it is, but it basically insta-procs everything. Like, it resets everything after she uses a Q. I don't know what's up with that. Otherwise, it's really good on champs that apply on hits on abilities like Irelia or Master Yi, especially ones that you can like spam stuff. You can do some pretty annoying things with that. It also has synergy with Ethereal Weapon if you have the means to find that, because that is an on-hit that you can apply on ability. Next we have Protein Shake. I think this is one that's probably under the radar, but this is really good. So it gives you heal shield power, scaling with your resists. So the main drawback about being an enchanter is that you are squishy, but you are removing that weakness by building resists, while also gaining the benefits of being an enchanter. Like, you're not just a tank, you're a tank that can actually protect your allies. Okay, so like, you don't have to, I guess this turns you into like what a guardian would be in League, which means you can't actually be focused down because you're too tanky. But you're also really good at protecting your carries because you have heal shield power, and that's what your champion does anyway. So it becomes really disgusting. Some champions have like even more bonus synergy with like tank value, like Karma for instance, because she has her Mantra W, which means like she already is a good tank anyway. This lets her be both enchanter and a tank. So I think on Karma specifically, Like she's like actually just unkillable. Like if you know how to play Karma, she just will not die. Next we have Quest Earth Champion, which is just the spatula quest. Not much to say here. Spatula is really good, and getting it for free is kind of crazy. I wouldn't take this augment like later into the game. Like I would only take this as your first augment, but yeah, if you get it, it's a lot of stats. Even if your champion doesn't use every stats, it'll still use most of them somewhat, because like resists are always useful, move speed, health regen, health mana. Either AD or AP will be useful. You also get this passive, which means you get the burn passive. Finally, in S tier we have Woogle Switch Cap. This is really OP just on the basis that you are combining two items that you're probably going to buy anyways in most games on most AP champions. And yeah, this Woogle's items is kind of OP. Yeah, you have 300 ability power plus a better death cap passive, which means the moment you complete this, you normally get like, I would say like 250-ish AP, just like after you like hit it. On its own, it's 450, and then if you have any other items, it bumps a lot more. Not only that, Zhonya's passive, it's not this, I think it's like 60. I think that's what it actually is. If it were 20, that'd be like the most disgustingly broken thing of all time. But yeah, you also start with a rod, which means you can get there faster. And yeah, so the item is OP, but also you have +1 inventory slots because you are combining both your death cap and your hourglass item slots. So later into the game, you also have the ability to buy another item, which is really, really, really strong. In A tier, we have Back to Basics. This is just a bit more situational. The champions that use it well, use it really well. So your champion abilities gain 35% increased damage and 70 ability haste, and 35% heal shielding from all sources, but you can't use your ult. So you can't use the active part of your ult. However, any passives that your ult may have still apply. Champions that don't really care about using the actual active part of their ult are really strong, such as Pantheon, Rise, Twisted Fate. Like in ARAM, those abilities are harder to use. There are others that you can like be willing to give up your ultimate, and you will get a lot of value. Yeah, it's just really good. However, it's niche and it's just not as good as the ones up here. So next we have Blade Waltz. Blade Waltz is funny. Yeah, I don't know, it's pretty good. At worst, it's invulnerability frames, which is always good. Like it's like a free Xayah ult, pretty much. However, its damage is also pretty good against assassins specifically. Okay, so if you're playing a backliner and you're playing against an assassin and they jump on you and you Blade Waltz them, you can probably just kill them with it, which is really funny. And then on the flip side, as an assassin, you have invulnerability frames, and this also can just solo kill a target if it's alone. Okay, well, not really, but like not really for either of them, because it isn't that high, but I mean, it does most of the work. Next we have Clown College. Clown College is good because it has a lot of stuff, and at worst, you're always going to be able to benefit from some of them. So you get 3 things. You get Backstab, Deceive, and Hallucinate. Backstab, your basic attacks deal bonus damage when hitting an enemy from behind. The ratio is really good, so if you actually have a good amount of AD, it's really good. It also has a really high AP ratio for some reason, for something that doesn't have a cooldown. Now, how often you're going to be able to auto-attack from behind, that's not going to happen very much, but this is a lot more damage than people realize. Next we have the active Deceive, which is Shaco's Q. It's a flash, but you're also invisible. And then after that, your next attack does a lot of bonus damage. That in combination with Backstab, like, can just one-shot, which is really good. Finally, you have Hallucinate, which is pretty much, I mean, it's the explosion from the Shaco box. Does good damage. It fears. It's pretty much Dive Bomber with a fear, so that's pretty good value. A champion that can use the damage parts of these really will like Clown College. If you can't, it's not that bad because you still have like a free Blink plus Stealth, and he has Dive Bomber, which is like, it's fine. But obviously you're only going to take this on champions that actually can use the damage parts. Next you have Dashing. It's haste on your movement abilities. Some movement abilities are broken. Being able to use these back to back are really broken. Champions have, some have multiple dashes, so they have multiple abilities with like almost no cooldown, and that is also very broken. The only thing is that there's other ways to get high ability haste, so it's not like this is like that irreplaceable, but this can make your champion very annoying. Like Silas, Akali, Echo, there's probably more, but Dashing is very strong. Next we have Fan the Hammer. This is just a really good multiplier of damage. Basically, it makes your attacks, like you get kind of like Urgot passive, where you have the directional attacks, and then when you attack, when the thing is not on cooldown, you get these extra bolts that do a lot of damage, and that's pretty much it. So at worst, you could treat this like a poke tool, and you get if the bolts connect, you're just getting a lot of free damage. In team fights, it's a little harder to use, but it's still pretty good. Because like unlike in Arena, ARAM is like you're only really fighting in one direction, so that's like a little awkward. But even just playing around the cooldown, like it's not even that long of a cooldown, it's 5 seconds, and this adds up a lot of damage. Like you get the base damage plus the bonus 80 damage, plus this can crit and apply on hits. Like with the right setup, you probably can one-shot someone with this. Next is Fey Magic. This is just one that has some synergy with some ults that makes it really, really powerful. Basically, damaging enemies with your ults polymorphs them. Basically, this makes it so that some ults are guaranteed to connect, which not only that they're guaranteed to connect, but that the enemy can't act. So pretty much, stuff like Cannon, Katarina, you can pretty much guarantee kill some targets because the moment they take an instance of damage, they can't do anything besides move around slightly. So a well-timed ultimate can just team wipe. Next we have Goliath. Goliath is just a good, like it has good stats. It's better on tanks than on carries because if you look at the actual like ratios, it's 35% bonus health versus 15% adaptive force. On carries, this isn't that valuable. It's okay, but the bonus health is really good. It's just a multiplier. Like that's all it is. The bonus size is also pretty good for blocking stuff for your backline. And yeah, it's just really solid. However, you can take this on backliners too, like on carries. It's pretty good. Next we have Infernal Conduit. This one is like, I don't know. I feel like I could put it higher, but like I think it's only S tier on brand. I think all the other champions that use it, it's like not as good. So basically, this applies a burn on your abilities, and this burn resets your cooldown slightly every time it ticks, and it also applies to any other burns that you have. So on its own, it does good damage, and then it also makes you cast more, which also makes you good damage. It's best on champions where you're already going to build burn items. Any kind of AoE also works out. Something like a Hecarim works really well if you can hit a lot of people with your Q or your W. Next is Omnis Pact. This one is, I think, one that people are afraid to take, but it's actually quite good. Abilities don't have a health cost. This cost is not very high. In return, you get a good amount of AP, move speed, and Omnivamp. I would say the biggest benefit is the move speed, but the AP is like a decent amount, and then on top of that, you get Omnivamp, and it's like a good amount. This, you can mostly treat this as Omnivamp plus move speed in most cases. It might be a little risky on champions that spam their abilities a lot, but like if you have something like Rise, where you have like AoE, and like each of your casts can actually do a lot, it's pretty good. On something like a Corki, like with your ult, or like, actually not even, because all your other abilities do pretty good work. Like maybe on Cassio, you might want to avoid this. But yeah, the actual health cost rarely makes a difference. Like if you actually hit your ability, it's fine. It's usually fine. Next we have Slow Cooker. This is a really strong damage tool for tanks. If you hit this, you probably do not need to build any other kind of damage at all. This will do all the work for you. Slow Cooker applies a burn to enemies within 500 units for 5 seconds, and it does a lot, and it ramps, and it stacks infinitely. So if you actually have so you need to be able to have stuff in your range. So this is really good if the enemy team has a lot of melee carries, because you're going to be able to hit them with it a lot more. And this, as opposed to other burns, which I've been a little like iffy on, this one ramps really quickly and does a lot. Like this one actually does a ton of damage. So what you want to prioritize is your ability to stick to targets, and you want to be tanky. You don't need any more damage if you have this, and that makes it really good. Next we have Tap Dancer. Tap Dancer is a bit of an APM check, because you need to be able to click quickly to scale like how much move speed you're getting. Yeah, you need to kite really well, but basic attacks on hits, they grant bonus move speed, stacking infinitely. You also get some bonus attack speed scaling with your move speed. This makes you really annoying, because you can kite super well with this. You just have to be very good at kiting. This can make some champions really hard to kill, and this punishes very immobile teams. Finally, we have Ultimate Revolution. Ultimate Revolution is the one that lets you reset your ults immediately after it started. There are a lot of ults that can abuse this, like Karthus, Tryndamere, Malphite, where immediately casting a second ult is just really strong. The cooldown isn't really like anything significant. Usually this will line up with your own ult cooldown, so you'll just have it every time. It also resets upon death, so you can kind of just send it. Like there's definitely some strategy on Karthus where you just double ult, then you portal in, and immediately die, and then you just do it again. Another thing is that it's like kind of counters some, like in that specific instance, it counters some of the things that counter Karthus, like Stopwatch / Zanya's, or like the invulnerability abilities like Vlad Pool. The point is, this is very strong. Next in B tier, these are like kind of the more average ones, but they're still usually pretty good. We have Biggest Snowball Ever. This one is pretty good. What it does is it turns your snowball into basically like a, I would say the best, I was gonna say Malphitals, but it's not really Malphital. It's an AoE knockup. It does a good damage. And yeah, this is a good engage tool. This is a good setup. This doesn't have like any like animation lock, so you can fire this and then use it to combo into a different ability. It comes out really fast. Yeah, this is a really, really good setup tool, which you have like on a pretty low cooldown. Even like defensively, you can use it to peel for yourself. And you know, like I think this one's a bit underappreciated because it actually has a lot of like utility. Next we have Can't Touch This. What this does is it gives you invulnerability for 2 seconds after you cast your ult. Some champions are really good, or like they need to play around their ult and it helps them function a lot. Something like an Olaf, for instance, this helps you get going immediately. Like Kennen, it's really good on. Also, considering the cooldown, it's really good on stuff like Karma, Udyr, Jace, like the transforms, but then also like anything you can spam. So you can use it to bait things, since you're not really usually giving up anything by casting your ult there. If you treat this correctly, this can effectively be, it is what it says, but like you can have really high uptime on this on a low enough cooldown ability. Next we have Circle of Death. This one is interesting. I think a lot of the time it's bait, but I think there are some applications where it's actually very good. If you have the means to heal a lot / regen a lot, it's really good. I think on enchanters it's kind of bait. Like even on like Soraka, like maybe on Soraka it's okay, but on something like Sona it's probably bait. I think on Drain heal tanks it's the best. So something like a Mundo can do a lot with this. Additionally, there's a lot of other regen sources that are really good. Like if you get Perseverance with this, that is a lot of regen, which means you're gonna do a lot of damage just by standing next to someone. Yeah, the range is pretty high. You don't have to actually be that close, and you can still get a good amount of damage. Basically, in the right spots, you are going to rack up a lot of damage. However, you just need to be careful that you don't try to pick this on a character that doesn't actually use this well. Next, we have Draw Your Sword. This is kind of like, this is really risky, but if you recognize the spots for it and you're kind of okay with playing melee champions, this is really good. Like the actual stats that you get are really high because you get 35% AD, 25% attack speed, 30% bonus health, 25% move speed, 25% lifesteal, and this is even like scales a little bit. If you aren't going to get punished for it, this is really good. The kits of ranged champions isn't that good a lot of the time for playing as a melee champion, but I mean some of the more mobile ones usually end up pretty good. Some like I gotta say like a Lucian is pretty okay, like maybe a Vayne, or additionally like really burst heavy as well, like a Jhin. It's definitely worth trying out at the very least. Maybe you never want to take it again, that's okay. The other thing is that if you're like a caster, most of your damage comes from abilities rather than your autos. Being melee doesn't really change much because you're still, like, you get the bonus AD and like bonus move speed and stuff, but you're still able to cast your abilities at their normal range. That's another use case. Next we have Dual Wield. Dual Wield is just pretty good as an on-hit. Like if you're a champion that wants to take it, you're perfectly fine taking it. Even if you like don't, this is kind of like a Runon's Bolt, except it applies to the same target. That's pretty much how you want to treat it. And that has a lot of synergies with a lot of augments. That has a lot of synergies with a lot of champions. Like this kind of like is really good for proccing certain things. So like Vayne is really good with, because it helps proc her silver bolts. Senna, this is really good because this insta procs her passive, so she can auto once and get the soul proc from it. Any other unhit champion, really good. And yeah, like this is just a really good multiplier for unhits, which is of course what it's meant for. Next we have Gold Run. Gold Run I think is an interesting one. You're supposed to treat this kind of like Night Harvester, where you just want to hit unique enemies as much as possible. The cooldown's kind of high, and the bonus damage is okay. It gives you a little bit of everything. This is quite literally Night Harvester if it gave you gold, and that's how you should treat it. So this is good on poke. This is good on anything that you can harass with and kind of hit as many units, as many champions as possible. The actual gold you generate isn't like super crazy, but it's helpful and it's better than some of the other income ones. Next we have Master of Duality. This is one that's really strong if you can play around it. It's just really hard to play around because you need to be able to consistently do damage with either basic attacks or abilities. The stacks only last 4 seconds. If you're able to maintain stacks, you will do a crazy amount of damage because you will have a crazy amount of AP or AD, depending on like how you are maintaining your stacks. There are some games where I've seen like an Ezreal have like 1000 AD and 1000 AP just because everyone's perma fighting and then he's somehow able to keep his stacks and he's just one-shotting. However, most games are not going to be like that. So you have to recognize what circumstances you have to be able to maintain stacks. If you can't maintain stacks, it's okay. If you can apply all the hits quickly, it becomes really good. Like if you're playing Katarina, I don't think you care about maintaining stacks. You just go in and ult and you're gonna get a bunch anyway, and that's alone is just gonna one shot. But yeah, if you're very mindful of how you can apply / do damage, this can be very powerful. However, it's very specific and not every game is gonna work out with it. Next we have Mad Scientist. This is a pretty low risk one for pretty much any carry. Mad Scientist, it alternates, or not alternates, but like either you gain 30% adaptive force plus bonus health, or you gain ability haste and move speed and reduce size. So either you're bigger and you do more damage, or you have more haste and move speed. Either benefit is pretty good. It doesn't, I think, some champions are obviously going to prefer one over the other, but I don't think you're really going to be upset. And this is kind of just very generic, and you can take on pretty much any damage dealer, and it's fine. Like, the stats are all pretty good. It's kind of pretty... It's comparable to other Prismatics, so you're not really losing much for this. Next, we have Quest Sneakerhead. This one is pretty good. It's kind of annoying to proc, but once you proc it, the boots you get are pretty good. You have a bunch of mini quests, and once you get it, you get like a super boots, which is basically a combination of all the boots, and it gives you a lot of move speed. The only thing is that it takes about the same amount of time as like spatula, usually maybe a little bit less, but I think this item is much worse than a spatula, so that's kind of the thing. I probably wouldn't take this after my first augment, because sometimes you just won't proc it, the game will end. But the boots are very good. I'll like show what the boots do. Like it's quite literally all the boots, you get this amount of move speed. Yeah, you get all the passives from. But like I said, compared to the stats of a spatula, this is just not nearly the same. Next we have Scopiest Weapons. This is really good in games where you need the range. This will make a really big difference to your safety. However, you are missing out on the actual damage amplifiers that other augments give. So you need to actually be able to use the range properly, and that bonus range needs to actually convert to you being able to do damage more frequently. If not, this isn't... I would say like you're missing out by taking this over a different prismatic augment. However, if you are able to play and like let's say the bonus range makes it almost impossible to punish you, then this is very, very strong. However, if you don't actually need the bonus range, I would recommend you take something else. But in general, this feels pretty good to have because this is effectively like permanent rapid fire cannon, which you can also build on top of this. And if the enemy team if it's difficult for the enemy team to actually access you, this bonus range is really disgusting. The only thing I'll say is that like there are a lot of games where you don't actually need this, which is why it's in B tier. Next we have Mikhail's Blessing. I think this is a really underrated one. This is one that I underrated for a while, but after playing with it a couple times, it's actually quite good. So Upgrade Mikhail's is the only prismatic upgrade, but it's actually quite good. What it does is it turns your Mikhail's into like a melee ult pretty much, where instead of healing and removing CC from one unit, it's like an AoE. It also lowers the cooldown. Another thing that I think is underappreciated is that you start off with 1,000 gold, which means you can actually just buy the item upright, and that's pretty valuable. This could be really annoying early, because it heals quite a bit. It can kind of counter just entire team comps if you I mean, yeah, like it just has a lot more upside than people realize. And you could be annoying with it the entire game. Like for Enchanter, like if the enemy team doesn't have CC, obviously you don't take this. But this is really underappreciated, I think, on like Enchanters. Finally, we have Windspeaker's Blessing, which is the other Prismatic Enchanter one. This one is pretty, like, I think people know it's pretty good. It is effectively a heal shield multiplier. Instead of making your shields bigger, it makes them more valuable because they can, like, your targets can block the damage that they provide. I mean, that's kind of all there is to it, but it just multiplies well with everything else. Resists are hard for a lot of carries to come by, so this can actually make them a lot more tanky. This can also negate a lot of team comps just because, like, you might actually have, like, the enemy run out of damage. Now in C tier, these are a lot more situational or niche, but I mean, they're still okay to take in the right spots. We have Imperial Promise. This one is kind of hard to use. I think as an enchanter, this one's kind of bait because it doesn't heal or shield. I mean, it doesn't do enough. I think on a tank that wants to protect a carry, this is actually pretty good because the shield that you provide is actually going to be better than what you're going to give to, like, from an enchanter. And you also have the CC to actually, like, protect your carry. On enchanters, it has a bit, like, okay, so it has a bit of a channel time. So the problem is that if you're standing still as an enchanter, you're probably just gonna die during the cast. So I would say it's kind of bait there. In Arena, you can get away with it because there's only 2 enemies. But in ARAM, there's 5. So the odds that you actually get punished for using it are a lot higher. However, tanks are meant to take damage anyway. So if you can save your carry by using this is actually quite good. It probably would warrant this actually being higher. However, I do not trust the ARAM community to actually play for other people. So yeah, but in like a competitive ARAM kind of setting, this would be a lot better if people actually cared about their teammates. Next we have Feel the Burn. This gives you an AoE burn, like Ignite plus Exhaust. For the sake of burn augments, it also makes Ignite count as a burn. Not that that matters that much. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's good, like, if the AoE Exhaust is good against like burst heavy, it's kind of, you can kind of just throw it out. It'll do a decent amount of damage. It'll mitigate a pretty good amount of damage. Overall, like, you can't really complain about having it, but it's not like as impactful as a lot of other prismatics. However, it's definitely a good safety option. You can take this on pretty much any champion. However, if you want to like min-max like its effects, you have to be very patient with how you block damage with the exhaust, because it's not just like you're exhausting one champion who's about to unload their whole combo. You're exhausting potentially the entire enemy team, so you need to be mindful of which abilities have been used or which ones still have to be used. But yeah, if you're really skilled at doing that, then this augment actually can have like a lot more value. Next we have Gash. This is an awkward one to use. I think this one suffers from a lot of the stuff that Arena has that this doesn't, like anvils and like some of the items. Basically, basic attacks on hits, they do some bonus true damage, and this scales with your armor. It is hard to get enough armor for this to actually do enough. The bonus true damage on its own is like okay, but it's really hard to play with as a an on-hit champion or as a tank. So yeah, but if you have the right game, like if you see that the enemy team wants you to take a lot of armor and you're a champion that can actually hit enough, this can be pretty good. It's just very, very situational. Next we have I'm a Baby Kitty, Where's Mama? A very strange reference they chose to implement in this game. But yeah, what this does, it's basically you pick an ally and you have more move speed and you heal them more. Yeah, so this is good for protecting one carry. The stats are good, it just doesn't necessarily do enough because a lot of the time you're the one that's going to be focused. This might have some value on tanks though. That's something that I might be interested in exploring. This might actually be pretty good on some tanks that have like healing and shielding. But yeah, I rarely see this one, and whenever I do, I don't want to click it. Next we have King Me. This is an awkward one. So what King Me does is it gives you, like, basically the moment you take the enemy's like thing, like their gate or their catapult or their portal or whatever, you can upgrade your first legendary item to like it's like the Orn item, and on top of that you get a random prismatic. The problem is that this is like it's a delayed transmute prismatic plus 1,000 gold, which is not really that good. It's not bad, but like you can kind of get screwed over by the random prismatic, and then only having 1,000 gold on top of that isn't that good. But also, you don't even get it immediately. It's gated behind a condition. Honestly, I'm down to lower this. I'm down to lower this. Next we have Laser Heal. This one is like, it's just weird. It's hard to use. Basically, it replaces your second summoner spell with Laser Heal, which is like basically a Vel'Koz ult that heals. It does some damage too, but like not enough to like matter. It's slow and it's hard to use. If the game is slow, you can kind of heal an okay amount, but in combat it's really awkward. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. It's really awkward, and I think it doesn't really compare that well compared to other prismatics. It's not terrible. Next we have Omnisoul. I think Omnisoul is really good early game, but it doesn't scale super well depending on which ones you get. And also, this doesn't really play much into like any win conditions. I will say though, it feels like I usually get pretty good souls regardless of whatever I'm playing. I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to low roll like the souls that you want, but like usually I'll get like the perfect combination of souls. I don't know, this might be like my luck playing games on me and only benefiting me in contexts where it doesn't actually matter. But yeah, it's okay. Early game this is good. But if a lot of the souls don't scale, like I think Infernal and Hextech souls probably scale well. Cloud is pretty okay. But yeah, it's mostly it's mostly Ocean that doesn't scale that well. Ocean and Mountain. It's fine. It's a safe pick. You just usually will have better options. Quantum Computing. This is a fun one. It's really like visually satisfying. The problem is that it's just really hard to play around. You can only really play it into melee teams. I think its cooldown is kind of too high for ARAM. I think it's hard to time. It's just really awkward. It does good damage. If you get a good one off, it can be really good for fights. It's just like you need to have a really good spot for it. It's like you need to have like be able to actually reliably hit these, and a lot of the times you won't, so I can't actually recommend it very much. However, in a good game for this, where you have the ability to hit this on multiple enemies reliably, this can be very strong. Symphony of War. Symphony of War is just Conquer and Lethal Tempo. Both of them are good together. Compared to the other duo Keystone ones, this is probably one of the better ones. However, it is still not that crazy. And you have to consider that, like, this is a prismatic and then the other ones are gold augments. Some champions do use both quite well. However, as a prismatic, it's not really that crazy. It's a little bit underwhelming. Because some champions might like Conqueror and some champions might like Lethal Tempo. There's a few that use both, but there aren't that many. However, if you're playing something like a Xin Zhao or like an Olaf or like something that actually does use both well, then it can be pretty good. Like an Ezreal. Finally, we have Ultimate Awakening. This one, it resets your cooldowns after casting your ult. This is pretty good. However, there aren't as many applications for this as possible. This might just have to be one that I have to play with more to learn all the better users of it. The cooldown is pretty low. So if you're a champion that can spam your ult, you can probably use this really well. Something like Karma. You probably want something that's like long enough that you would actually care about resetting. So you have to time this well. But in the case of something like Karma, this would allow you to like guarantee that the spell that you want is available. So I guess there's that. Yeah, so realistically, you're looking for a champion that casts their ult after using their other abilities so that you actually are resetting something. I don't know, there are some champions that are like that. However, none come to mind. That's probably because I just don't play those types of champions. However, the effect isn't bad, it's just situational. Finally, we have D tier, which are the ones that I think you should not take in most cases. Glass Cannon, I don't know if this is like C or D tier for me. The problem is that I think the drawback is worse than the benefits. So you are sacrificing 30% of your max health in exchange for dealing bonus true damage equal, like, but the problem is that the bonus true damage is post mitigation, so this isn't really that much. And I think this one gives you, like, you get a good decent benefit, but I think the drawback is just like it makes it not really worth taking over like any of the other ones that just don't have a drawback. Like, I would much rather have Mad Scientist, I would much rather have Giant Slayer, I'd much rather have Gold Rend or Goliath. Like, Glass Cannon is, like, actually annoying to use. And doesn't even provide, like, that much damage, in comparison. Snowball Roulette. This is one of the augments of all time. After using your Snowball, the problem is that this is random, and that even if you get what you want, like, this isn't even that effective. The dash cooldown's pretty high, but you're not, like, really getting that much. And because you're getting, like, because it's random, like, it's not even guaranteed to be good. So, like, sometimes you might cleanse when you aren't being CC'd. Might cast barrier or something. I don't know. Like, it's just not very good. You should probably never take this. The 100% needs to be buffed. I would much rather have Snowball upgrade. Like, not even the Prismatic one, the gold one. And then the last one is, I think, probably the worst augment. Maybe Snowball is the worst. Snowball Roulette is really bad. But Transmute Chaos is also really bad because you are giving up a Prismatic augment to gamble on 2 different augments. And now the best case scenario is that you get 2 gold augments and that both of them are good. However, the fact that you have a 30% chance to get a silver augment and that you're not even guaranteed for that silver augment to even be good, there's almost no case where you'd want to take Transmute Chaos. Because, like, even in the best case scenario, it's not, like, Prismatics are really, really strong. So not only you have to high roll 2 gold to your augments, which is like about a 50% chance, you also need to actually hit good ones. Whereas you can just, I don't know, pick literally anything else. Like, maybe if your other options are Snowball Roulettes and King Me or Glass Cannon, maybe that's when you take it.